Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cardano Live. I have Murray with us today from PhotoChromic, and he's going to tell us more about digital identities on the blockchain. Murray, thank you for being here on Cardano Live. I appreciate it. How are you doing today, sir?
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm looking forward to having a great conversation with you and also engaging with your community.
Yeah, I'm sure people are very happy to hear more about how digital identities work on the blockchain. That's what we'll be talking about today. But before we go further, I want to refer you to the links down in the description below. You have the link to the PhotoChromic website, and there you can find the white paper for PhotoChromic. You have links to the PhotoChromic Twitter, so you can check out the Twitter for updates. And you have a link to the PhotoChromic Telegram, where they have live information and a community of people who can answer your questions there as well. So check out those links down below in the description. And while you're there, hit that like button and the subscribe button. And for more content from Cardano Live, hit the bell to get your notifications. And without further ado, let's get on to PhotoChromic with Murray. He's the CEO and co-founder of PhotoChromic. So Murray, can you tell us a little bit of the history behind PhotoChromic and a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today? And then we'll get into technology. So how did it all begin? Can you take us a little trip down memory lane?
Sure. Thanks, Rick. So I think a little bit about me is I'm a curious entrepreneur in love with technology. So having studied engineering and been fairly early to kind of the Bitcoin movement, I've always been fascinated by how this can unlock real utility, store of value, and freedom in a Web3 space. And I mean, how this merged with identity, I think has been a long time in the works. My partner has spent his career in identity, and he brings a lot of perspective and consideration to the table. And it wasn't many decades ago, really, where you could pretty much cruise through the world with someone else's identity just by changing the photo inside your passport to someone else's. As long as you looked, you looked the part, you could move around. But obviously technology and a move to digital has allowed us to do a lot more with our identity. There's also a lot more that can go wrong with identity. And really it was a curiosity that we both had around when we could make something happen in the space. And I think from a timing perspective, what's worked out well this year is people starting to appreciate NFTs. That's a very core part of the protocol, which we can chat about. But I think also, this pseudonymous play that a lot of people have on chain. Being on chain means that every bit of information is publicly available, and a lot of people don't want their information public about their identity. So we really put our heads together and try to think of something that would add utility, value, build trust and authenticity in this space, help bring a lot more people onto the blockchain to transact and engage. And that was the genesis of PhotoChromic. And where we want to go as a protocol is really to have a look at some of the information that we can start working on with other protocols, other projects, and be able to unlock utility for existing things that are being built in the Web3 space.
Okay, excellent. And I like the idea of how you have a way where people can store their own identity and they own it, and they can also retain some level of privacy as well. All right. And I hear a bit of a beeping. Do we need to fix an ops issue? Or are we good to go?
We just went through a power dip, but should be back to normal.
Everything worked fine. No loss. Good job, man. Well done, Murray. All the power backup systems work perfectly fine. All right. So back on the digital identities. And I want to remind the viewers, we'll be doing an AMA later. So as you learn more information, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I'll get to those questions in about 5 minutes here. All right. So you're building identity information. You guys are in the progress, early stages of development, and you have some technology deployed on Ethereum. We've done some building on Ethereum, and referred to Polygon, and now you're introducing your concepts and your technologies to Cardano. How's that going in the whole process? Like, what do you have on Ethereum, and what's coming to Cardano soon?
Yeah, I think maybe a first starting point is worth chatting about, Rick, with regards identity versus being identifiable, and that's a really kind of key consideration in the project. Is what we're not looking to do is to expose everybody on chain and make their identity available to everybody else and make them identifiable. What we're really looking to do is to allow for the comfort that you can be use the utility of your identity, but remaining unidentifiable. So, and how we do that, and this is kind of to tack into your point around Ethereum, is there's I mean, many of you would have gone through a KYC process or an IDV process, and what our project does is starts with that. It checks that there's a real person behind the camera. It's not a deep fake, and it's not a filmed video of someone there. So checks your liveness, checks that your face matches to a government issued identity. Could even look at a database that's run by a government to confirm and triangulate that it is in fact you. And once you've got that and confirmed your proof of address, we take that information and we hash that and we save that into the metadata of an NFT. And we use your face and the mesh that your face would generate to create a piece of generative art. And that generative art is really a co-creation of yourself and an algorithm to represent a version of your identity. And that's identifiable by you, yourself. And then you can choose to share that with someone that you trust. So I'll have a picture for me and you'll have a picture for you, and we can share those, and then we can start transacting. So that already elevates us to being able to have a relationship that is above just a hexadecimal address or wallet address, and can confirm that we have a relationship. And then we can also choose to start exposing information to each other. So, and that's really the naming of PhotoChromic, being dark in the sun and clear in the shade, is the counterparties, friends, and family that we trust. We can expose content, documentation, and information to in a trusted way. But to everybody else, we are unidentifiable. And the reason why we've started on Ethereum is because of some infrastructure that already exists. So we already have IDV providers who have establishment in the Ethereum space. We have the service of the ENS, which is much the same as a DNS in what we are used to. You know, you type in a domain name, and what it's actually doing is it's pointing you to an address of a server. Here, the ENS is a name that will point you to a wallet. So being able to have that, plus our generative art, is a great step forward to allow people to start trusting and enabling transactions between the two of them. And then obviously that's a great use case for us. It does, come with the downsides that we're aware of with Ethereum, but the establishment, the network effects, etc., help us to build trust and credibility. And then moving to other chains is the natural next step. And we imagine and are working with people in those spaces from a wallet's perspective in Cardano. We're looking at Solana, and in time it will probably be like, we all have wallets on each of those chains, that we'll have an NFT in our wallet for each of those chains that is our NFT for our identity, which is biometrically hashed. So that's how we hope to get there. And I think, people will use layer ones and layer twos for different reasons. And we'll see different uptake of utility for our project, hopefully for those various chains.
Wow, that's a lot of great information that I hadn't even anticipated getting. I've read some of it on your website and with your white paper, but your description there was way better than anything I had imagined. Okay, so it's nice to hear you're already building out on Ethereum, because the Web3 technology is better on Ethereum. There's projects like CardStack who's building Web3 products on Ethereum for people to be able to assemble what it is they're trying to do. And of course, this everything that you built with Ethereum will also translate to Cardano and Solana and Polygon and the other blockchains. Even if they're ERC20s like Polygon type of chain, they can still make NFTs that are either. So let me get this right. They can make an NFT unique to their identity that works on the Ethereum chain, and people eventually will be able to also make one unique to their own identity on the Cardano chain and have an NFT in their Cardano wallet that represents their identity. That's a general idea I got from you.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then they can choose to expose, like, I'm a relatively public person in general. I just don't share the ultimate private details, like tax information, social security, medical records. I'm obviously not going to share that kind of information. So you're giving people options here. They can remain as anonymous as possible and still say, yes, I am a real human and I have an identity. Here's just enough information for me to participate in this purchase or participate in the exchange or the trade. Or they can choose to say, yeah, this is all me all the time, and put everything out there. Or just pick and choose somewhere in between, like with friends, family, as you were saying, which I think could help social media in a decentralized environment. I think that would be great. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and you touch on an interesting point. And for celebrities, artists, and sportsmen, there is so much attraction to them and their celebrity that people want to impersonate them. So this is a way where you can, in that instance, you can choose to be identifiable because your identity matters, and you can, start and mint your own collection of your NFTs of, kind of key moments in your career, say, or you can verify your tweets that they are in fact coming from you. And that stops a lot of the fraud. So we think that in not just for the everyman, but also for the use case of the artist, celebrity, and sportsman, it's a pretty compelling case, and technology to help them protect their assets, their own credibility, and ultimately their own identity.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. So a celebrity can authenticate themselves that, yeah, I am the actual celebrity, to help reduce the probability of impersonations. And for example, on Twitter, they have the blue check mark. This is a verified person. And so I'm assuming through this technology, it has a way to keep people from counterfeiting your own identity. And is that where the biometrics come into play?
Yeah, so we've got to start from a central point of trust, and that central point of trust is the government to start off with. But ultimately, we want to move away from that. And so two important things. One is your biometrics come from your face. That your face is your own, and there's no other one like that out there. But it also maps to an identity number, social security number, and that confirms that you're an individual. And we think that there's kind of this movement towards a new species almost of humans on the blockchain, and the way that we interact, the relationships that we have. There's a new form of identity. There's a new way that we want to express our personal brand, that we want to interact with financial institutions, DeFi applications, other people through social media, etc. So we want to help enable that layer through a protocol, and ultimately people should build fantastic things on top of our project. And that's, in our tokenomics, that's the biggest allocation, is for community incentive, for people out there who think that there is application and value in working with people's identity and helping put that power back in their hands. We want to hear about those projects, and we want to know how they're thinking about, one wallet, one vote is kind of the way that the blockchain works currently. And you can quite easily open up 10 wallets and have 10 votes. But what about one human, one vote? And how do we actually verify that? There isn't much out there at the moment to do that. So, and then also I think we're going to have this interesting digital track record as NFTs. People at the moment are enjoying them because of the appeal of the art and the collectability, but we haven't yet even scratched the surface of what the utility of NFTs can actually do for us. So that's so much of the excitement for us, but we know that there's probably way better ideas out there of how to implement and introduce this to other projects. And we want to hear from those people.
Yeah, that's excellent. I had a Cardano Live podcast, number 42 with Kenrick. Kenrick is doing research. He's a researcher on voting on Cardano, because currently we have Project Catalyst, and it's 1 ADA, 1 vote, right? Well, for every 1 ADA, it carries the weight of 1. So if someone has 100,000 ADA, they carry the weight of 100,000 ADA to vote, it's fine in the context of the development of the blockchain to keep honest people honest and have people vote in the best interest of the chain. But at some point, if people want to use these technologies outside the context of the ADA universe or the Cardano universe, somehow it's going to have to be 1 human, 1 vote, right? Which is where, I hope this leads to eventually where voting becomes available for other public services other than blockchain. I would think it would be great to have some sort of way to say, I can verify that my vote was counted, but no one else can see that it was me. They can say, yes, a valid human made that vote, but we don't know who it was, right? And so I think that's a very interesting way to go. And I think Kenrick would certainly be interested. And I do have some viewers. I can touch on some viewer questions. Sorry if I hit one of them that was good here. This was Chris Ray, who goes by Haskell Plus. He is a builder with Ergo. So he works in the Ergo ecosystem a lot. And he asked, how can I use this on the Ergo blockchain for my project ErgoLend? So can you give us a general idea without the technical details? Is there a general idea on how this could be used in the context of Ergo blockchain?
I mean, to be honest, I'd be unsure about how exactly that maps to Ergo, but I imagine that the users on that chain are all native to other chains as well. So even though there might not be a specific NFT for Ergo, there could still be a mapping and a bridge to others that they could use. And I think, I mean, if I just pick up on the name of ErgoLend, there is, at the moment, it's the identity of the people that you're entering into these lending contracts with is that you don't know. But at some point, there's value in knowing the counterparty and some of the attributes about them, where they live, or their age, or their credit worthiness or history, and those don't necessarily have to be shared. One of the elements of the protocol is that information can be shared through a zero knowledge proof. So if you want to do a KYC, for example, to get access to ErgoLend or to a certain centralized exchange, and you don't want to hand over all of the documentation that you have about yourself to this new service because you don't really trust them, you can use the protocol to use a zero knowledge proof to reveal the fact that you have been KYC'd, but you don't have to allow them to do that. So what we're hoping to do is that allow you to do a KYC once and then share the credentials of that with all of these applications, but keep your information safe and secure with yourself.
Awesome. I think that answers Chris's question here from Haskell Plus quite well, because Ergo is it's an EUTXO model, and it's very forward leaning, but there's very rapid development. So they actually have an Ergo DEX. So that's a great example, Murray. Thank you for that. Chris, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Chris, for that question as well. That the Ergo DEX is pretty advanced, and I guess at some point, if they need to implement a KYC to make it compliant in some way or another, that technology is available. So those of you who work building on Ergo, check out PhotoChromic and maybe you can get some ideas there on how you would use it and how you would implement these digital identities. And there was another good question here. This one might be kind of hard to answer. It was from IAMX, and the question is PhotoChromic GDPR DSG VO compliant? And for those of you who are not generally in the European band, the GDPR is the public is the privacy supporting legislation in Europe that helps preserve people's privacy in general. So is there some thoughts about GDPR when it comes to this type of identity?
It's such a great question, and I think one of the foundational aspects that make this protocol work is that. So that together with community, because I guess the analogy there is the fax machine way back when, and if you didn't have another fax machine, only having one on the network didn't really help. So having a community using this and building trust slowly over time and the network effects that come with that is important. But so too is that, before we can get the network effects from people because they trust it, it has to be compliant from an Personal Information Act perspective. So what we are doing is we have a very rigorous stream and part of our project that is working on this information GDPR compliance. And it's also important for us to say that we don't ever save information. So once you've gone through an IDV, and you've used your face to create your biometrically hashed NFT, that information is lost. So we're not saving anything. We're just saving the hash or the output or the encryption of what your face generates. And that's something that you'll walk around with for a long time. So that'll allow you to confirm that hash in the future. So, if you want to enter into a transaction above a certain threshold, for example, and you've set some limits on your MetaMask to say, I have to check my liveness before, a transaction of a certain amount goes off, it'll just open your camera, run that hash, compare that to your NFT to say, okay, this is in fact that person, and we can go ahead with it. So great question. So important in this space.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that question, IAMX. And thank you as well, Murray. I appreciate you taking some of these on the fly. I've got the best viewers over here. The folks at Cardano Live really do ask some good questions. A little bit of price talk in the chat because it's a red day, but we're going to stick to the tech side of things here. Now, there was a few questions that we were talking about before the podcast, and one of them was related to using PhotoChromic-like technologies. Can a person make multiple identities for different purposes, or is that a problem if they make multiple identities? Do they need to?
I imagine that. I mean, so you using your image from your government issued identity is going to generate one identity, and that's what you're going to save into your into that NFT, and that's going to live in your wallet. It's going to look and feel just like any other NFT to amongst your collection of regular NFTs. To you know that it's worth more than that because it gives you the utility. So I imagine that you would have a single identity per wallet per chain. So you'll have one in your Solana wallet, one in your Cardano wallet, one in Ethereum, and so on. And you may have multiple wallets, and you could have your verified identity wallet, and you could have a pseudonymous burner unidentified wallet that you don't have an NFT in. But they would all, if you try to do your IDV twice and create a second, I don't imagine that would happen because you have to pay for that enrollment in some way, and that would resolve to the same answer. So I can't see that happening.
Okay. All right. So there is some spam and civil prevention because, for one thing, it does cost a little bit to mint an NFT. So that's a good thing. I'm glad you answered that because that's important. It'll prevent someone from saying, hey, I'm just going to make 100 identities and make a Sybil version of a Twitter account or something like that. If they've got to pay that small transaction fee, that adds up. And plus, it'll show up as a duplicate. So you say, well, that's the same guy. So what's the point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I love the direction you're going. I love the direction you're going with this. Thank you, Murray. All right, and viewers, let me know if you got any more questions in the chat. We'll be wrapping up in just about 5 or 10 minutes here. So, Murray, I wanted to learn from you, what is the greatest challenge ahead that you see coming with implementing this? Is it getting it on exchanges, banks, the checkpoints that are out there on the internet? What do you see as the big challenges coming up?
I think in the near term, one of the one-way doors that we're going to go through is in the near kind of 2-3 weeks, on the 15th of November, we're going to have our IDO, and that's our first kind of engagement with the community, where everyone gets an opportunity to pull out their wallet and participate in the project. So we've been very lucky to be well supported in our private round, and the next step is obviously to get this to happen in a wider community space through an IDO, and as I mentioned just now, having the community to support this is so key to the longevity of the project. And we're also lucky to have some incredible engineers working on this to bring this to life. So first week of January, we're planning to have our product available for release, and our first users using that on Ethereum, and then that kicks off the next chain, to learn from the first one and build it on the second and third. And I think where the challenges lie are those areas of friction for the user. And what we're trying to do as much as possible is involve our community and involve our users to give us that feedback, so we can learn from them. This is an interesting iterative community project, because we're putting something out there that we think adds value, and we want to hear all of the stories and feedback on how it can be improved and where they think the direction can go. And that's why we're incentivizing our community with tokens for building on top of our protocol, etc. And then getting the uptake. I think that's every project's probably biggest issue is getting growth of users, trust, referral, and building the network effects. So if we can have our users kind of trust us to start, work with us to gather momentum, then I think we've probably got a good shot at doing something well.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. So one of the big challenges is building that trust, building to technology. I mean, usually when I ask a developer, hey, can you do this? Their answer is usually, well, yeah, I can do that. It's just a matter of how many people and how long it's going to take. So, well, okay, yeah. So you can pretty much do anything, but building that trust is critical. Thank you for that, Murray. And there was also, related to the idea, a few questions came up. Jose Sanchez said, is anyone here excited about the PhotoChromic IDO next month? It will be hosted on CardStarter. So can you tell us a little bit more about the IDO next month? Because some people really, one of the most common questions I get when a token comes up or an IDO is people say, how do I get that coin, right? How do they get it? Okay. What can you tell us about the IDO?
Well, I suppose that's pretty good timing. So and tied to your points around the community that you sustain and invest so much into, Rick, is the Cardano community, and CardStarter is Cardano based. So we're launching on CardStarter 15th of November. The best thing to do if you want to participate is to go to cardstarter.io to register from the 8th of November. You'd go through just a registration process, a KYC, you'd whitelist your wallet, and then you'd be eligible to participate through their platform. And that'll allow you to be the earliest participant as a member of the public into the project. And from there, we hope that we can create value for our token holders. They can tell their friends, network, and family about them, and that we can bring more people in. So that's that part of the process, and then soon after that, we'll look to get listed on some centralized exchanges as well.
Okay, cool. All right. So if anyone's not familiar with CardStarter, they have a site on the Ethereum side of the chain where it may be available on maybe on Uniswap or something like that, where you could pick it up. I'm not sure. I will drop a link after the podcast down in the description to the CardStarter Telegram and the CardStarter data, so you can learn more about getting that through CardStarter on the Ethereum side of the chains. And then, what's your anticipation for deploying some technologies on Cardano? Are you looking at Q1, Q2 of next year?
I mean, we're already working together with one of the leading wallets, as well as an IDV on a kind of a collaboration project for Cardano. So that's fantastic, and really exciting. Just what I love about Cardano community is it seems like it's a very warm and welcoming family, and I think, Rick, like you've said before, a very patient one. So that's something that we'll probably have ready, I'd say, middle of next year.
Okay. All right. So middle of next year, we'll see some of the tech deployed on the Cardano side. I mean, that's good. Yeah, I'm patient. I think a lot of people in Cardano have learned to be patient, and I'm actually interested to see, like CardStarter did. Atash was here earlier this year on the podcast on building things on Ethereum where there's more development in the Web3 domain and getting it working there, then bridging it over to Cardano. And then a lot of people are also interested in seeing it come up as Cardano native assets and Cardano native NFTs and stuff like that. And people are chomping at the bit a little bit about, hey, let's see more of this stuff launch on Cardano. So glad to see that you're working in that direction as well, because the fees are lower, right? If you got lower fees, yay! Everybody loves that.
Absolutely, yeah, very important.
So, yeah, that's good. All right, I think that's all I had. Let me see if there's a few more questions. I might be able to answer this one, but you probably could answer better than me. CF asks, you have a Tala PhotoChromic. Do we need to worry about a flood of identity NFTs in our wallets in the long run? We're still early. Now, if you want to answer that, Murray, but my comment is we're still early, and I think what you're going to see is multiple iterations of different options, and then over time they will grow in parallel, and the best of breed will come to the top. And that's my general philosophy on that. What's your thoughts, Murray?
Totally, and I mean, like all of our physical wallets, they have a lot of things living in them. So, and they all serve a different purpose and a certain utility. So absolutely, to your point, I think there's we early, and the space is so broad. I think it's difficult to kind of capture it all. So being narrow, focused, and deliberate around solving some specific issues is going to be helpful. And I mean, it's the more bright minds that are looking to solve additional problems in the space, the better. I mean, identity is one of those things that you take for granted until it's taken away from you, or it's misused. I mean, we saw just a few weeks ago when Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp went down. It just dawned on a lot of people that all of this memory bank of photos and this network of humans that they connected to could be taken away in an instant. And so much of their identity sits in that. And, when it's taken away, you appreciate, shucks, maybe I should invest into this myself, and I should self-sovereignly look after it.
Yeah. And, it's things like Atala Prism, like IOG designed that to connect to the chain and provide certain validation of information on the chain. And they may look to projects and developers like PhotoChromic and say, you know what, you guys have an NFT solution that takes care of this particular aspect. It's possible, I'm just going to guess and throw this out there, at some point they might say, hey, we want to use that identity solution because that saves us thousands of man hours of building it ourselves, and we'll just kind of like use your version of it, and then boom, all that work is reused. And that's what a lot of developers like to do in blockchain, is say, okay, I don't have to build the entire thing myself. I need to make this solution, and plug into theirs, right? And then use that to have a more comprehensive solution for everything. And I think that's the direction it will go over the next couple of years. I think we will see it evolve in that direction. All right. Thank you, Murray. And thank you, Siap, for that question. All right. I think that's all we got for today. Murray, what I'd like to do is any last words for the viewers, anything else you want to put out here before we wrap up for the day?
Thank you, Rick. I think, firstly, a big thanks to you for having me on your show. Secondly, a big thanks to your community for embracing this, taking the time to listen to the story, sharing this with the people that they know. But I think if there's something to help with, it's to engage with us. Whether you're a developer, whether you're just a keen crypto fanatic, we'd love to pick up a conversation with you on Telegram or Twitter and learn about how you're thinking about identity and that adds shape and direction to our project. So that'll be parting words, I guess.
All right. Thank you, Murray. Sorry, I got dry throat there for a second. Thank you for that. Appreciate you coming on. If you ever want to come back over to Cardano Live to provide some updates in the coming months as things develop, feel free to come over. Just hit me up on Telegram and we will get that arranged. And I would like to thank all the viewers. Yeah. Thank all the viewers for your great questions and your participation here. I appreciate that. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below and share the video with friends, families, and developers who are building on blockchain, not just Cardano, but Solana, Polygon, Ethereum. Make sure you share this information out with them because the more people we get involved, the better it works out in the long run. So thank you, Murray. Thank you, everyone. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.